What's up, y'all? I'm not a weirdo, but when I used to do bad interviews, I used to kind of look like one. So one of the things I used to do pretty bad, man, was like if I was interviewing someone, or let's just say I was just a cameraman that day, I would find myself staring at the person who's talking, and they would just, because of force of habit, they would just look to a person who's talking, like looking at them as if they were talking to them. So like we have to literally like reshoot things sometimes just because I had the talent look off looking at me because I'm looking at them. So don't be like me, right? So what I've done was I've kind of like summed up all the things that I've done wrong during interviews. I want to share to you all what those things are, so you know not to do them in your next interview for you to get better interviews. So here we go. And because I know we had an uptick in subscribers lately, we just hit over 5K. I'm a corporate videographer based here in Chicago, and I do documentary film work, and I do short films on the side as well. So if you're looking to learn anything about film, you're at the right channel. Make sure you follow me everywhere, Brookssmedia with 2 S's. If you ain't at the S, you ain't spelling it right. So for the number one thing is, especially if you are a camera person, do not lock eyes with the talent. Keep your head down at your camera, so that makes sure that if the person who's actually giving the interview, that's the only person they should be looking at. Try your best not to look at the talent when they're talking, because 9 times out of 10, or it's most likely that they're going to make eye contact with you and lock eyes with you and throwing off the whole interview. It's just weird. You know what I mean? Like it's just weird. Make sure you stay focused on your task, not getting so caught up in a job. I guess we could sum it up into one. Number 2, use your questions as anchors just to dig deeper. And what I mean by that is, like, it's nothing wrong with going to an interview prepared, right? It's nothing wrong with you having a certain amount of questions ready, so that way if anything get lost, thrown off track, you have these questions you don't have the answer to tell your story correctly, and that's great. But also, don't let that be your only way to interview someone, especially if they have a very interesting story. Like, kind of get to know them. Ask questions like deeper. So if you ask them like, hey, why did you? How long have you been a doctor? And they say like, oh, I've been a doctor for 6 years. Well, what made you decide to become a doctor in the first place? Well, my dad. You see what I'm saying? Like that right there. Don't give them open-ended questions. Give them a question that you could feed off of and kind of pull some emotional strings on. Number 3, be personable. Like actually just be a normal person. Yes, obviously you are there to do a job, right? But at the end of the day, these are still people. So let's have normal conversation as you would any other time. Brother, you'll be talking to me the entire time, right?
Okay.
I'm gonna have you introduce yourself, pastor this church, and let us know how long. What this is doing is it's lowering their guards to kind of like put you all on equal playing field. It's like, hey, I might be nervous on camera, but if I'm only talking to you, I'm totally fine, which happens to me often, right? So many times I have talent say they're more comfortable talking to me versus directly to Cam, just because I've created such a calm and, just a neutral atmosphere where we could just be each other, be ourselves, right? The cameras are on, but we just having a conversation. So just be personable. Now, number 4, if you are the one doing the interview, make sure you actually lock eyes with the person that you're talking to, right? Don't kind of like look off because at that point it kind of makes you seem disinterested in what they're talking about. So if they sit and telling you their life story and they're like, yeah, man, when I was a shorty, my pops got shot and da-da-da, you sit here like, yeah, bro, that's crazy. That's wild, bro. Oh, what you say? Your pops did what? You see what I'm saying? So like, it just like, don't do that, right? Be attentive, especially if you are the one giving an interview. Be attentive and make the person that you feel like you're talking to, you're actually having a genuine conversation. Number 5, this is really for corporate videographers, right? But you can use this for any aspect of what you're filming, which is research what you're filming, research the business, research the person. Kind of going there with a frame, like with an idea of what they already do. So if you're filming like a non-for-profit, right, or a non-profit rather, maybe look up how many places that they've done charitable work for. What's their statistic? How many kids have they helped sent to high school or sent to college, right? Like that's kind of all part of your storyboard. But if you kind of get an idea of that, you will have a better sense and a better what's the word I'm looking for? Better connection to the story that you're trying to tell, because you actually know what they're doing. And if it's something especially like charitable or like nonprofits typically are, you know what I mean? Like you can probably tug your own heartstrings and kind of create an emotional attachment to it, where you're trying to tell the best story possible because you know the impact that it has on the communities that they serve. Now, this is the last one, which is kind of important because it's actually going to get you some better interviews, especially if your talent is not giving you what you need to like them to give, which is lie, aka the compliment sandwich. Let me expand on that a little bit. What I mean by lie is like with the compliment sandwich is tell them something good, give them something bad, like tell them something like that they're doing good, tell them something they need to work on, then tell them they're doing like something that they're doing good again, right? So they may not even be doing good. They may be bombing this entire interview, right? But it's your job to make them feel like they're doing the best thing, like they're doing the best interview that you've ever seen. Do you know how many times people have walked past me, right? I'm sitting here doing interviews, like a corporate events, and they're like, oh, he tells up to everybody. Cause I'm always telling people like, oh my God, you're doing great, you're doing good, keep up the energy. I just need you to switch up this answer to be a little more concise here, because at that point, you're so eager on like, I'm doing good and I thought it was gonna be terrible on camera, to the point it's like, oh, if that's all I gotta change, I can do that, no problem. Like, it takes the pressure off of them a lot when you're sitting there telling them, like, because you're the trusted source at that point. So the camera person, if the camera person is telling them that they're doing good, then they're doing good. Now, that's just for me doing interviews, but I know there's a lot more of you all who've been doing interviews longer than me, who've done more interviews. So I'm very curious to see like what other tips that you would add that you can kind of help build this community in regards to what is some of the sound advice you would give to people who trying to give better interviews. Like maybe something that I want to learn from it too. So especially if you all have been doing interviews, let me know down in the comments below what some of the things that you feel that can help give better interviews. Other than that, man, don't forget to follow me everywhere, Brookssmedia with 2 S's. If you don't have the S, you ain't spelling it right. Deuces.